something about the floats and some final points in Primavera. On the screen is a project with 30 days duration, and the total float column shows that C has a total float of 13, D has float of 8, and F has a float of 8. Now the floats of D and F are not the floats which you can use independently in both the activities. By this I mean you cannot delay D by 8 days and F by 8 days, because this float is a float in a chain. In other words, since D and F are connected, the float of 8 days is shared by the activity D and the activity F. Now let us try to understand this. So for example, if I make the duration of D as 4, then you will notice that the floats of D and F are reduced by 2. So that shows that the float is a float in a chain. Now we will undo that and go to the original one. Now look at the activity D, sorry C. The total float here is 13 and the free float is 5. Now the equation for the total float is total float is equal to free float plus interfering float. Now the interfering float in the case of C is 13 minus 5, that is 8. Now let us see the characteristic of a free float. Free float is that part of the total float which when utilized will not affect the float of the succeeding activity. Let us try to verify this fact. Suppose I make C as 9 days, that means I will delay the activity by 5 days, which is the value of free float, and see what happens. See, the float is reduced by 5, but there is no change in the float of D and F. So this is the plus point of a free float. Free float in an activity is a bonus. You can blindly use that float without bothering the floats of the succeeding activity. But if you go beyond that, then you have to pay the price in the float of the succeeding activity. So now once again we will go to the original duration and see the total float as 13 and free float as 5 for the activity C. Now one more thing about the Primavera software is that if I select C and put the constraint as late as possible, then it will only consume the free float. You can see here that it only consumes the free float, the total float is intact. So that is different compared to Microsoft project. In Microsoft project, if you put a constraint as late as possible, it will make the activity critical, which is not so in case of Primavera. So that's one peculiarity. And then we will now see how to make the activity C critical. Now in that we will add a column in the duration, in the dates, and add late start column. Okay, the let's start column is there. Now if you look at the activity C, the late start is 30th April. Now if you want to make this activity critical, then how will you do that? You go to the constraint and select mandatory start and select the date of late start of the activity, namely 30. You'll see that C is now critical, there is no float. So that is how you can do the, or you can make the activity critical, but it's not just like Microsoft project. Alright, now we'll remove the constraint and go to the original program. Now we want to create a column in the table of interfering float, which is by mathematical equation 8 in case of activity C, 8 in case of D, and 0 in case of F. 13 minus 5 is 8, 8 minus 0 is 8, 8 minus 8 is 0. So we will before that we will add a user defined code or field in this. I will call this user defined field as F1, IF1, I'm sorry, and I will also add another which I have already done here, user defined float as interfering float. Alright, so now what I will do, I will add the column of interfering float from user defined float, user defined field, and select interfering float and take it on the right hand side and make that column as the last column. Alright, now let's see what is in the interfering float right now. There is nothing. Ideally it should be 8 here, 8 here, and so on. Now in order to calculate the interfering float with the help of global change, we'll go to Tools, Global Change, and create a new global change. We'll give the title as interfering float. Now here I will put a column. I will add 1, and first I will select IF1 and write the formula that IF1 is equal to total float minus free float. Free float. And then I will add another column, another query in which I will say that interfering float is equal to IF1 divided by eight. It's very tricky. You have to write unless you select the custom, it will not allow you to. So I am selecting custom and then I write 8. I'll explain this formula after we change it. So now I am saying let's okay, change. Now in this it says that the value of interfering float in C was changed from 64 to 8, in D also 64 to 8 and so on. So I'll explain that a little later. Commit changes. Now you can see that interfering float is recorded as 8 here, 8 here and 0 there. The reason I created two formulas in the global change is that the first formula will give you the answer in hours. So that is how 64 was seen in the original value. And if you divide this by 8, which is the working hours, you get the right value of the interfering float. Friends, this is all about what I wanted to explain in this video.